Hey everybody, and welcome back to the StarCityGames.com Invitational here in Baltimore. I'm Joey Pasco, and I'm here with Todd Anderson. And Todd, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're playing in Standard this weekend?
Sure. Well, if you take a look, here's the hallmark card of the deck. It's Birthing Pod. There's been a few different versions on Magic Online that have been doing well recently. This version in particular has been performing very well over the last week, and I just wanted to give it a try. I really like Birthing Pod in general, and I feel like this one gives you the best chance to win overall. This version particularly is a lot more aggressive than normal because we're playing 4 Strangaroo Geist, 4 Blade Splicer, and 4 Huntmaster of the Fells. These are your core creatures right here, along with the 8 mana producers, which are Avacyn's Pilgrim and Birds of Paradise. And then, aside from those creatures, what you basically have that as your aggro package, and then you have Birthing Pod to just gain incremental value throughout the rest of the game. Now, what you do is you chain up with Birthing Pod. You start, lowly like a Strangaroo Geist, and you chain up to Blade Splicer, and then your 4 start with Phyrexian Metamorph, Hellrider, Solemn Simulacrum, and then those chain up into 5s, Geist, Honor Monk, and Acidic Slime, and then those chain into Inferno Titan and Wormcoil Engine, and then finally the Big Daddy,
Big Mama.
Yeah, Big Mama. I'm sorry. I guess she is female technically. I don't know how. I guess Elish is a feminine name.
Sounds good.
Yeah, right.
Sounds feminine.
The deck, I play 2 Oblivion Rings to help out against Geralt's Messengers, opposing Strangaroo Geist, as well as opposing Oblivion Rings, which can take out your Birthing Pod. The mana base is pretty straightforward. We have 7 basic forests, and then 1 each of the mountain and the plains to be able to fetch up with the Solemn Simulacrum in the deck. We have 4 Copperline Gorge, 4 Rootbound Crag, 4 Razor Verge Thicket, 3 Sunpetal Grove, and 1 Gavany Township. A lot of versions have been playing more Gavany Township, but I felt like I wanted more basic forest so that my lands came into play untapped more often. So we cut down to just 1 instead of having 2 or 3. We are only playing 3 Sunpetal Groves as opposed to 4 Rootbound Crags because we have the 4 Avacyn's Pilgrim to help out with the white mana, and I don't think you want to play more than 7 of the M10 cycle of dual lands, I guess.
Right.
So I guess that's the main deck. Pretty straightforward. All your fatties have their their nuances, their niche. Hellrider in particular was one of the spicier ones, I think, that was added to the deck. Since you're an aggressive shell with Huntmaster of the Fells, Strangaroo Geist, and Blade Splicer, if you chain into Hellrider, a lot of times, since it has haste, you can just deal them just an absurd amount of damage on turn 4, and then the next turn you can even chain that into a Geist Honor Monk to get extra value before you start going up the chain to hit the Elish one.
So what about, what did you see in the format that made you choose this deck to play?
Basically, all of the aggro decks are these mid-range, clunky, they'll get you over time if you're playing a deck that can't really handle the threats. But when you're jamming 4 Huntmasters and just a billion ways to chain into them, you also have the Wormcoil Engine and stuff like that. It's very, very tough for them to really compete on a fair level because you're just the same kind of deck they are, except you have just this absurd tutor package, as well as Birthing Pod, which is basically just one of the top 3 cards in the format right now, I think. So.
Yeah, speaking of Birthing Pod, it seemed to have disappeared for a while,
right?
And now it's come back, I think, on the strength of Undying.
Right.
That seemed like...
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think the fact that there are just so many good creatures in the format, people always complain about Titans are too good, and maybe they are, until they're gone, though, people can play with them, and they should, because they are really powerful. And while we're playing the colorless Titan alongside the Inferno Titan, I still think that, if there weren't Titans in the format, this deck would still be very playable, and it'd probably still be very good.
Yeah. Tell us about your sideboard.
Sure. So this is a little bit wonky. This is very different from any of the sideboards I've seen on Magic Online, but I knew what I wanted to fight against, so I just put those cards in the deck. Starting at the top here, the Singleton Spellskite helps protect your Birthing Pods, as well as all of your solid creatures against whatever removal, Oblivion Ring and stuff like that they're going to be throwing at you. So it doesn't stop the second half of Ancient Grudge, which is a little rough, but I still think having 1 against Oblivion Ring is really good. We have the 3rd Oblivion Ring to bring in against decks where we just have to deal with some problematic permanent. It's also just very good against any deck that has a lot of Undying. We have a Singleton Viridian Corruptor, to chain into to destroy opposing birthing pods, as well as if you randomly get paired against Tempered Steel, you just have like another guy as you go up the chain to get value. We have 2 Corrosive Gales to help out against the Spirit matchup, because I think that's actually one of the worst matchups you can play against.
Yeah.
Normally you can race Lingering Souls pretty easily, but when they start playing Dungeon Guys to lock your creatures down, or they counter your Birthing Pod, or they just like play a Drog Skull Captain and start attacking with like, 4 to 8 power with the flyers, it's very, very hard for you to race. We have 2 Ancient Grudge to help out in the mirror. Since Birthing Pod is like the card that matters the most hands down, it's very good. 2 Sword of Feast and Famine to help out against Wolf Run. 3 Mental Misstep come in against Delver of Secrets, various decks that just rely on a bunch of 1-drops. And then last but not least, we have 3 Celestial Purge, which are almost primarily for the blue-black zombie deck or black-red zombie deck. But basically killing Geralt's Messenger is just huge because that's their biggest threat against you. But it does take out any creature that could be giving you a problem in that deck. So.
Cool. So you said you thought that Esper Spirits was kind of a bad matchup. Any other bad matchups?
Honestly, I haven't played against any because every deck is just like this mid-range, try to do some cool stuff, but I think our deck's just doing like more powerful things while also being that same kind of mid-range style. And I think that might be what Standard is devolving into. There's not like a good Illusions deck anymore because people have access to so much cheap removal. Like the zombie decks play Tragic Slip, Mortar Pod, so you just can't really compete with a deck that's fragile. And this one has all resilient creatures, and like I said, the Birthing Pods are just like an absurd tutor engine that just makes your deck go over the top of anything you play against. So
awesome. Well, thanks for sharing your tech with us.
Yeah, no problem.
Definitely good luck in the event.
Appreciate it,
Thanks
Joey.
a lot, Todd Anderson. I'm Joey Pasco. We'll be back in a bit with some more StarCityGames.com invitational coverage.
Thanks, guys.